A few months after graduation, my roommates decided to kick me out of my own apartment. The only problem, they had no idea I was the owner. Fresh out of college, I'd had what I thought was a good idea. Let's rent a place together, I suggested to my 3 roommates. The apartment I found was a steal, close to my new job, surprisingly cheap, and a world away from the cramped suburban box they were currently renting. It was a massive upgrade. For 3 months, everything was perfect. We were a happy little family. Then one day, I came home from work early and heard them talking in the living room. I looked it up. One of them said, her voice sharp with excitement, "Rent in this neighborhood is at least $5,000 a month. We're paying $2,000 for the whole place." Well, another voice cut in. "What if we rent out the master bedroom for $2,000? Then our 3 rooms would basically be free." "Done," the first one said immediately. A third voice snapped, bitter and quick, "Why does Anna get the master suite anyway? So what if she covers the utilities? How much can that possibly be? I'm so sick of her holier than thou attitude." Then the last one chimed in with a spiteful laugh. "The thought of her homeless and out on the street. I could die laughing." I smiled to myself on the other side of the door. "You want to see me out on the street? Too bad for them. I'm the owner." The voices inside continued blissfully unaware. "Anyway, the lease is up in 3 days. We just tell her we're not renewing with her." Serves her right," someone added. "Always bossing us around, acting like she owns the place. And that whole story about it being her relative's apartment and that's why it's so cheap. Like we have to take care of it. Who buys that?" "I already contacted the landlord," Lily said, smug as anything. "He said, we can have it for the next term. Same price." Just like that, my fate was decided by people who seem to have forgotten everything. How fresh out of college, they'd been too broke to afford anything near the city. How they'd been crammed into a tiny place far out in the suburbs, waking up at 4 in the morning for a brutal 3-hour commute of buses and trains. It was me who couldn't stand to see them suffer. It was me who lied, saying a relative had a cheap place available and invited them to move. But the truth was simple. This apartment had been a graduation gift from my parents, a 4-bedroom, 2-bath prime piece of real estate, right next to my office, a 5-minute walk to work. I could have rented it out in a heartbeat, but my parents always taught me to be discreet about our wealth, so I never told them I was the owner. I charged them token rent, $500 each, and I covered all the utilities and building fees myself, and this was my reward. My kindness thrown back in my face like trash. Taking a slow breath, I pushed the door open. The laughter in the room died instantly. The air went still. Lily recovered first, stretching her lips into a fake, bright smile. "Anna, you're home early. Have you eaten? We made pasta. Come have some." She pulled me into a chair at the dining table like nothing had happened. After clearing her throat, she began her little performance. "So Anna," she said lightly, "the landlord called. He was asking if we're planning to renew the lease." I slurped my pasta, saying nothing. She watched my face, trying to read me. Then she continued, a little too quickly, "We've decided not to." My hand paused mid-bite. I looked up, feigning confusion. "We found a cheaper place," she added, her eyes darting away from mine. "You only wanted to room with us because you couldn't afford the whole rent on your own, right? So now that we're leaving, you'll probably move out too, won't you?" My voice stayed flat. "It's fine. If you guys leave, I'll just take over the whole lease. I finished a big project at work, so I'm getting a nice bonus." Lily's smile faltered. "It's such a big place for one person. Isn't that wasteful? Listen, you should find a small studio. You'd save so much money." If I hadn't heard their little scheme with my own ears, I might have believed she was concerned. "I'm used to it here," I said simply. "Too lazy to move," Jenna muttered. Jenna had been silent until then, but now she finally snapped. She slammed her fork down on the table. "I was trying to be nice, but you're not getting the hint. So let me spell it out. We don't want to live with you anymore. We want you to move out on your own. And don't force us to get ugly about it." I stared at her, expression turning cold. "I found this apartment. I signed the contract. Why should I be the one to leave just because you say so?" Ava, who'd been quiet the whole time, finally spoke. "Anna, living with you, it's been really difficult. If we keep this up, I'm afraid we won't even be friends anymore. Ava was supposed to be my best friend. Ava had a hard upbringing. Chaos, instability, the kind of childhood that leaves you flinching at every raised voice. I'd helped her escape that, helped her get into college, helped her survive those years by sharing what little I had. After graduation, worried she wouldn't handle life alone, I suggested we live together so it wouldn't feel like I was doing her a favor. Now she bit her lip, eyes pleading like I was the one breaking her heart. You always wanted what was best for me. Just agree to move out this one time. We can still be best friends. I looked at her, my face a blank mask. Then I smiled. Fine, I said. I'll move. Their faces lit up. They started babbling about how we'd still be great friends even after I was gone. How we'd visit each other. How this didn't have to change anything. I didn't want to hear another word. I turned and walked back to my room. The moment the door clicked shut, I pulled out my phone and dialed my property manager. Mr. Henderson, I said calmly, the rent is going up to $6,000 a month. It didn't take long for a knock to rattle my door. I opened it to find the three of them standing there, their faces twisted with rage. Jenna shoved me hard. My back bumped the corner of my desk and pain flared hot and sharp. Ava's eyes were red. How about this? She said, forcing a fake tone of compromise. You go talk to your relative. Get him to keep the rent at $2,000. And you give us the master bedroom. If you do that, we'll still be willing to live with you. I crossed my arms, looking at her like she'd lost her mind. And where would I sleep? On the couch, obviously, Lily said, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. So, I pay rent to sleep on the couch? I asked. Get it through your head. Jenna sneered. You're the one begging to stay with us. You should be grateful we're even offering you the couch. Ava looped her arm through mine, her voice turning syrupy. We're best friends, Anna. Of course I'm looking out for you. I've already found you a new place. It's fully furnished. You can move in right away. And the best part, it's only 30 feet from the office. Perfect for a workaholic like you. Where? I asked, already bracing myself. He covered her mouth, stifling a giggle. Rex's doghouse. It's right by the security guard's booth at your office. How's that for a short commute? Jenna snickered. Wow, Ava. And you call yourself her best friend? Ava waved her hand like it was nothing. Oh, it's fine. What are friends for? I watched their little performance, my blood turning to ice. Then Ava's expression hardened. Anna, she said suddenly. Serious. Living with you has been exhausting. You're such a control freak. We can't hang anything on the walls. We can't decorate our rooms. You nag us if a single hair falls on the floor. We can't take it anymore. You've practically ruined my mental health, so you should probably pay our rent for the next quarter. Consider it compensation for everything we've endured. I almost laughed. I didn't want them putting nails in the walls because the paint was a custom color. Damage it once and it would be impossible to match. I didn't want them decorating because their brilliant idea had been to knock down a load-bearing wall to make their room bigger. And I complained because they never cleaned the shower drain. Their hair clogged the pipe so badly it flooded the apartment below us. And I had to quietly pay a fortune to fix it. In the 6 months they'd lived here, the money I'd spent cleaning up their messes and covering costs far exceeded the pittance they paid in rent. And now they wanted me to pay them for emotional distress. Hilarious. I met their eyes, calm and steady. Either you move out or I do, and you can pay the full $6,000 a month yourselves. With that, I shut the door in their faces. From the other side, I heard furious shouting. Anna, you're pushing your luck. Don't make us do something you'll regret. The next day, I didn't get home from work until 11 at night. When I reached my front door, I froze. My belongings were piled in the hallway like a heap of garbage. I tried my code again and again, but the door wouldn't unlock. They changed the lock. A hot wave of fury rolled through me. I pulled out my phone and called my dad. Dad, I said, keeping my voice even through sheer willpower. Can you send a courier service? I need something delivered here right now. After hanging up, I started pounding on the door. The bangs echoed through the quiet hallway. It didn't take long for doors to open. Neighbors, annoyed by the noise, stuck their heads out to see what was happening. Someone even called security. As a crowd gathered, the door finally clicked open. Jenna stood there in pajamas with a face mask on, frowning. Like I was the problem. What the hell are you screaming about? I'm trying to sleep. I clenched my fists, forcing my voice to stay level, and pointed at the mountain of my things. What gives you the right to throw my stuff out? Ava appeared behind her, casting a timid glance my way. Anna, we didn't have a choice. Please just give us a break. Then she shot a look at Lily. Lily immediately stepped forward, eyes wide, voice loud and dramatic. Everyone, please judge for yourselves. We all rent this apartment together and she brings strangers home late at night all the time. The noise, the constant disruption. We can't sleep. She turned back to me, her eyes turning, pleading. We know you have your own life, and we're not judging you, but we have to get up early for work. Please, we're begging you, find somewhere else to live. The moment the words left her mouth, the way the neighbors looked at me changed. Curiosity curdled into disgust, like they'd already decided what kind of person I was. Whispers rippled through the crowd. She looks so normal. No wonder she comes home late. How unlucky to live near someone like that. A middle-aged woman pointed at me. Boy, shrill. Was it you blasting music and stomping around the other night? The bass shook my whole apartment. I didn't get a wink of sleep. I was out of town on a business trip all last week. I said. I only got back yesterday. For a split second, guilt flashed across Jenna's face. Then she snapped her chin up and pointed. Anyway, yes, it was her. Another neighbor stepped forward, angry and tight-lipped. And was it your long hair that clogged the drains and flooded my bathroom downstairs? Ava, the one with the longest hair, the one who never cleaned the drain, froze for half a second. Then she turned to me with a frown that could have fooled an award committee. Anna, I've told you so many times to clean your hair out of the shower. Why don't you ever listen? My stomach dropped. It was so shameless. I almost couldn't process it. And then Lily piled on, grim as a judge. She's reckless. She doesn't listen. We've tried to stop her, but she refuses. The crowd's anger ignited like gasoline. She's a menace. Get her out of our building. Security, do something. The security guard, seeing the mob mentality rising, grabbed my arm and started to pull me back. I yanked away, furious and desperate. I'm the owner of this apartment, I shouted. You have no right to throw me out. Jenna let out a harsh laugh. If you're the owner, then I'm the Queen of England. Ava looked at me with fake pity. Anna, I already called the landlord. He's on his way. If you leave now, you can still keep a little dignity. It's going to be so much worse when he gets here and kicks you out himself. My hands were shaking. Fine, I said, voice like ice. Get your landlord here. I'd love to see how he plans on kicking me out of my own home. A moment later, a voice cut through the hallway. Who's looking for me? And then I saw him, a blonde guy with an expensive watch and cheap arrogance, swaggering through the crowd like he owned the place. He paused dead center, looked me up and down with a bored half smile, and jerked his chin toward Lily, like she was the one he came for. Yeah, he said lazily. I'm the landlord. The hallway went quiet for one stun beat. Then the neighbors started murmuring again, relieved to have an authority to latch onto. Lily and Jenna straightened like proud little students who'd called the teacher to punish the class. Ava stood just behind them, eyes shining as if this was the moment justice would finally happen. I stared at him. Something about him was off. Not just the swagger, but the way he held himself, like someone playing a part he'd rehearsed in the mirror. The watch was expensive, sure, but the confidence didn't match. It felt borrowed. Still, he lifted his hand like a king granting mercy. What's the problem? He asked, loud enough for the whole floor to hear. Lily rushed to answer. Thank God you're here. This girl is refusing to leave. Her lease is up and we're not renewing. She's been causing problems in the building. Jenna cut in with a snort. She's been disrespecting everyone, throwing parties, destroying things, you name it. The blonde guy, let's call him Braden because he looked like every Braden I'd ever met, rolled his shoulders and took a step closer to me. You're Anna? He asked. I didn't blink. And you are? He smirked. I'm Braden. I manage this place for my uncle, the actual owner. He's out of town, so this quarter is on me. He pointed toward my boxes in the hallway like they were evidence. Looks like you're already moved out. Good. Makes it easy. I let Out a quiet laugh. Not because it was funny, because it was so absurd. It almost didn't feel real. You're going to kick me out, I said slowly. Based on what 3 roommates told you. Braden's eyes narrowed. Based on what everyone told me. You've been disturbing the building, acting inappropriate. The owner doesn't rent to people who ruin a community. The word inappropriate landed like a slap without him ever touching me. The neighbors leaned in. I could feel their judgment pressing in from every direction, hungry and excited. Lily's voice rose, trembling with fake virtue. We've tried to be patient. We really did, but we can't live like this anymore. Jenna crossed her arms. You have 2 choices. Leave quietly, or we call the cops and you get dragged out. I tilted my head. Call them. Braden blinked. Excuse me. I stepped forward, close enough that I could see a pulse jump in his neck. Call the police right now. I'd love to see how you explain removing me from my own home. His smirk faltered just for a fraction of a second. Then he recovered, sneering like I'd insulted his intelligence. Your own home? He barked out a laugh. Sure. And I'm Beyonce. A couple of neighbors chuckled, relieved again. Relieved to have permission to doubt me. Ava stepped closer, voice soft and coaxing, like she was doing me a kindness. Anna, please, don't make this worse. The landlord is here. Just accept it and go. I looked at her. Really looked at her. The Ava I'd known in college used to flinch when someone spoke too sharply. Used to apologize when someone else bumped into her. Used to whisper thank you like she didn't believe she deserved help. Now, she stood behind the knife she'd put in my back and called it mercy. Braden waved a hand like he was done with the discussion. All right, enough. I'm going inside to inspect the unit. Make sure you didn't steal anything on your way out. And with that, he pushed past me, past the crowd like he had every right. The lock behind him clicked. I turned my head slightly, watching Lily, Jenna, and Ava exchange quick looks. It hit me all at once. They weren't just trying to kick me out. They were trying to set me up. A minute later, Braden came back out. With a scowl, he pointed into the apartment like he'd found a corpse. Where's the Lego set? He demanded. I blinked. What? The Lego set? He snapped louder. The limited edition display in the living room on the TV console. It's worth, he paused like he was doing math he didn't understand, then spat out a number anyway, like 20 grand. It's gone. My throat tightened. I knew exactly what he was talking about. It wasn't even limited edition. It was a big build kit my little cousin had fallen in love with over Thanksgiving. He'd sat on this very floor, tongue sticking out in concentration, building pieces while my mom took pictures, and my dad pretended to complain about stepping on bricks. I'd given it to him because it was mine. I didn't owe anyone an explanation for giving a toy to a child I loved. But now Lily put on a horrified face. This is what we mean. That was part of the apartment's furnishings. Jenna nodded hard. It was here when we moved in. It belongs to the landlord. Ava's brows knitted like she was genuinely worried for me. Anna, just give it back. Stealing is serious. I stared at them. The audacity made my skin go cold. It was mine, I said. I gave it to my cousin. Braden's eyes flashed. Your cousin? He let out a harsh laugh. That's your excuse? He stepped close enough that I could smell whatever cologne he drowned himself in. Listen, sweetheart. I don't care who you gave it to. I care that it's gone. And I'm not eating that loss. I kept my voice even. Call the police. Braden's jaw clenched. You think you're funny? I think you're lying, I said. And I think you're doing this because they asked you to. For a split second, something flickered across Lily's face. Panic. Maybe. Then she covered it with righteous anger. How dare you? He snapped. We're the victims here. Braden lifted his chin toward me. Here's how this is going to go. You pay for what you took. 10 grand cash tonight, then you leave and we're done. I actually laughed this time. Short, sharp disbelief bleeding into it. No, I said. Braden's smile vanished. Excuse me. I didn't move. I said no. And if you touch my things, if you step near me, if you try to force me out of this hallway. Jenna shoved my shoulder. Stop acting like you're somebody. I stumbled back into my own suitcase, the plastic handle digging into my palm. Braden's gaze slid over my piled belongings, hungry and calculating. Then Jenna crouched like she owned the floor and yanked open my Suitcase zipper. Hey, I snapped, stepping forward, but Lily grabbed my arm hard. Ava moved in on the other side, fingers digging into my sleeve, holding me in place like I was a child, throwing a tantrum. Jenna started pulling things out, clothes, toiletries, a folder with my work documents, tossing them aside like none of it mattered, like I didn't matter. Oh my God, Jenna gasped suddenly, holding up a gold necklace. My necklace? A birthday gift from my mom. Her eyes glittered. She turned it so the crowd could see, voice rising. This is mine. I've been looking for it forever. Lily's eyes widened like she just had a brilliant idea. Check the rest. She probably stole from all of us. Neighbors leaned forward. A couple of people exchanged looks, curious, tempted. The hallway felt like a room filling with smoke. A's voice trembled, soft and sad. Anna, why would you do this? I jerked, trying to pull my arm free. That's mine. All of it is mine. Get your hands off my stuff. But Jenna was already digging again, pulling out my makeup bag, holding up a perfume bottle like it was a trophy. This too, she announced. This was in my bathroom. And it disappeared. Lily joined in, grabbing a pouch from my suitcase and shaking it. A lipstick fell out, then another, then a pair of earrings. He looked at the crowd. See, this is exactly what we've been dealing with. And suddenly, the neighbors weren't just watching, they were participating. Wait, my package got stolen last month. Someone muttered. My doormat went missing, another added, as if that was the same thing. A middle-aged man pushed forward. Let me see, he said, reaching toward my things. I stepped in front of my suitcase, heart hammering so hard it felt like it could crack my ribs. No, I said, voice shaking now. Back up. Brayden smiled, slow and ugly. You don't get to tell anyone what to do. Not in my building. My blood ran cold. Not because of the words, because of what they implied, because of the way Lily and Jenna stood there, eyes bright, enjoying it, because of the way Ava lifted her phone like she was getting ready to record something she'd never let me live down. I had never felt so exposed in my life. Stop, I said louder. Stop. This is illegal. Brayden's voice dropped, low and dangerous. Then pay up. 10 grand right now. I swallowed hard and reached for my phone. A's eyes flicked to it. Brayden sighed too. The moment my thumb hit the screen, he lunged and snatched my phone out of my hand. Don't, I warned, furious and shaking. He stared at me like I was a joke. Then he slammed it onto the tile. The screen spider webbed instantly. A couple of neighbors flinched. Then Brayden ground his heel over it like he was stamping out a cigarette. There, he said, almost cheerful. Now you can't call anyone. I tasted metal in my mouth. Not because he hit me, because my teeth were clenched so hard I thought they might crack. Jenna shoved me again. Lily hissed. Just apologize and pay. You brought this on yourself. Ava stood there with her phone angled toward me, eyes glossy, voice gentle like poison. This could all be over so fast, Anna, she whispered. Just admit you're wrong. My vision blurred with rage, and then like a knife slicing through the noise. Excuse me, voice said. A young delivery guy in a reflective vest stood at the end of the hallway holding a thick document envelope. He looked overwhelmed by the crowd, but he kept his eyes on me. Is there an Anna Carter here? He asked. I have a delivery. Signature required. For a split second, nobody moved. Then my chest tightened so hard it almost hurt. Dad. Of course. My dad didn't do things halfway. When he said he'd send something, he sent proof. Back up and back up for the backup. I tore myself free from Lily's grip and stumbled toward the delivery guy like he was a lifeboat. That's me, I said, voice rough. I'm Anna. He handed me the envelope, relieved to be done, but Brayden was already striding toward us. What's that? He demanded. Legal documents, I said, and my hands were shaking as I ripped the seal open. A few sheets slid out, copy stamped and signed. And at the top, in bold black letters, was my name, Anna Carter. Property owner, unit address, everything. I lifted the papers high, enough for everyone to see. This is my apartment, I said, voice cutting through the hallway like a bell. I'm the owner. The deed is in my name. The mortgage paid off. The building fees pay for my account. The lease signed by me. The hallway went silent. Not the satisfied silence of people agreeing with me. The uncertain silence of a crowd realizing they might have backed the wrong side. Braden snatched the papers out of my hands before I could blink. He skimmed them, eyes flicking. Fussed. Then he let out a laugh that was too loud, too forced. Cute, he said. You printed fake documents. That's what you did. You're not just a thief. You're a fraud. He looked at the neighbors, playing them like an instrument. You guys see this? She's trying to scam her way out. Then with a casual cruelty that made my stomach drop, he tore the papers. Not once, not twice, he shredded them into pieces and tossed them into my face like confetti. There, he said. Problem solved. A couple of neighbors gasped, but no one stepped forward. No. One said. What the hell are you doing? Because bullies don't need everyone to agree. They just need everyone to be scared. Lily's shoulders loosened, relief creeping in like sunlight. Jenna smirked. Ava's lips curved just barely. Braden leaned closer, voice low. 10 grand now or this gets worse. Ava crouched slightly beside me like she was offering kindness. If you apologize, she murmured. If you say you were wrong and you beg us to forgive you, I can talk to him. Maybe he'll take less. I stared at her stunned. My best friend. My so-called best friend. I didn't even recognize her. Get away from me, I said, voice shaking with fury. Braden's smile widened sickly. Fine, then you're choosing the hard way. He lifted his hand like he was about to grab me again, and then a voice boomed from behind the crowd. Enough. It wasn't a neighbor. It wasn't security. It was sharper than both. Steady a fiddle and dangerous to ignore. 2 police officers pushed through the hallway. The crowd parted automatically like the building itself was exhaling. Everybody stepped back. The lead officer ordered. Now, Braden's whole posture changed in half a second. The arrogance melted into wounded innocence. He pointed at me immediately. Officer, thank God you're here. This woman stole from my uncle's property and she's causing a disturbance. She even made fake documents. Lily rushed in, eyes red like she'd practiced. We were scared to call, but we had to. She won't leave and she's been doing things. We've been harassed. In our own home. Jenna nodded hard. She's dangerous. Ava added softly. We just want to be safe. The lead officer looked from face to face, taking it in. Then he bent down and picked up one of the torn paper fragments from the floor. He studied it. Come slow. Then he looked up at Braden. You said you're the owner's nephew, the officer said. Do you have documentation? A letter of authorization, copy of the deed. Anything? Braden's eyes flickered. My uncle is out of town. I don't have it on me. Your ID? The officer said. Braden patted his pockets like he'd suddenly forgotten what clothing was. I left it inside. The officer's gaze hardened. Go get it. Braden didn't move. The second officer stepped closer, hand hovering near his belt, not threatening, but ready. Braden swallowed. Look, officer. The lead officer turned to me. Ma'am, you're saying you own this unit. Do you have any proof besides what's been torn? My heart hammered. Then I remembered the envelope. Dad had never sent just one thing. I turned to the delivery guy who was still standing there, pale and wide-eyed, clutching his bag like a shield. Sir, I said quickly, was there anything else in the envelope? Any backup documents? He nodded, fumbling, and pulled a smaller inner packet from his bag. The sender said there were copies. I didn't know what it was. He handed it to the officer. The officer opened it and pulled out neatly labeled copies, the purchase agreement, a certified copy, request form, recent building fee, receipts, and a statement showing payments from my account tied to the unit number. My name and the address were printed so clearly, it felt like the papers were shouting. The lead officer's jaw tightened. He looked at Braden. Braden's face drained of color. He tried to step back. The second officer moved like lightning and caught him by the arm. Sir, the lead officer said, voice turning iron. You're being detained. Braden's mouth opened. No. This is a misunderstanding. Lily went stiff. Jenna's smirk vanished. Aa's bone slipped from her fingers and hit the tile with a dull clack. What are you doing? Jenna sputtered. He's the landlord. The officer didn't even glance at her. Ma'am, step back. Braden twisted, panicked. They told me. She told me. His eyes snapped at Ava, like a drowning man reaching for air. Ava's lips parted, but no sound came out. The lead officer looked at the 3 roommates. And you, he said, will be coming with us as well. The hallway erupted into chaos, protests, sobbing, shouting, but it didn't matter. When the elevator doors closed behind the officers, Brayden and my 3 roommates, the silence that followed felt unreal, like a storm had passed and left the world wrecked. At the precinct, the fluorescent lights made everyone look sick. Brayden's confidence didn't just crumble, it evaporated. He started talking before anyone even asked him to. It wasn't my idea, he said quickly, voice high. I swear I was just doing them a favor. Ava came to me. She said Anna was rich and alone and nobody would care. She said we could scare her into pain. That's all. Aa's face went slack. Jenna shot her a look of pure hatred. Lily's eyes darted around like she was looking for a door that didn't exist. The officers pulled footage from the building's hallway camera. Every shove, every lie, every hand digging through my suitcase. Brayden smashing my phone. Jenna holding up my necklace like it was stolen. Lily directing the neighbors like a conductor. Ava filming. It was all there. When the lead officer turned the monitor toward them and asked, "Do you want to explain this?" Nobody had anything left. They tried anyway. Lily cried about fear and being trapped. Jenna claimed I'd provoked them. Ava whispered the word misunderstanding over and over like it could change reality. But the footage didn't care what story they wanted to tell. In the end, Brayden and the 3 of them were booked. Statements were taken, charges were explained in flat legal language that made Lily start shaking and Jenna start swearing and Eva start crying so hard she couldn't breathe. When they were led away, ABA turned back and looked at me like she wanted me to save her, like I'd always saved her. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I went home after dawn. Neighbors, suddenly embarrassed, brought back what they grabbed. Someone returned my sweater with a ripped sleeve. Someone else handed back a makeup bag, eyes averted. The same people who had watched my world burn now wanted to pretend they'd only been passing by. I thanked them with a face so calm it didn't feel like mine. Within 48 hours, the apartment was quiet again, empty, and I thought it was over. I was wrong. A week later, my manager asked me to come into his office. He didn't look angry. He looked tired. "Anna," he said, and he slid a thick printed packet across his desk. "There are rumors online." I flipped it open. Screenshot show. Post. Threat. A story painted in bright dramatic strokes. Me as the wealthy bully. Me as a control freak who tormented 3 innocent girls through college, then lured them into a lease just to keep controlling them after graduation. Accusations twisted until they didn't even resemble me. My stomach hollowed out as I read. My manager sighed. "Clients have seen it." A couple of partners asked questions. "It's turning into a PR problem." "They're lying," I said, voice tight. "There's police footage." "There are reports." "I know," he said quickly. "I know, but online doesn't care about reports. Online cares about emotion. And right now the emotion is against you." He rubbed his forehead. "I'm not firing you. I'm asking you to take a leave. Let the noise die down, then we'll bring you back." It felt like being doused in ice water. I walked out of the building like I was underwater. People talking around me, phones buzzing, laughter in the elevator. Life continuing like mine wasn't cracking apart. That night, Lily, Jenna, and Ava went live on a popular app. Not some tiny account, a big one. A storytime stream that immediately blew up because suffering sells and tears are currency. They sat in a bare room, no makeup, white t-shirts, eyes puffy like they'd been crying for days. Ava took the lead, voice shaking. "We didn't want to do this. We were scared, but we can't be silent anymore." Lily sniffed and added, "We were bullied for 4 years. For years. We thought we could escape after graduation, but she followed us. She controlled us." Jenna leaned in, eyes blazing. "She's rich. She always got away with everything. She made us clean. She made us pay. She treated us like servants." They told story after story, each one more ridiculous than the last. That I dumped trash in the living room and screamed at them to clean it. That I ruined their laundry. That I forbade them from having boyfriends because men are trash, while secretly bringing strangers home at night loud enough they implied to keep them awake. And then, when the chat started flying, when the comments turned into a roaring wave, they dropped their most twisted claim. Lily lowered her voice like she was confessing something traumatic. Sometimes she'd just sit there in the dark watching us sleep. The chat exploded. Disgust, rage, threats. People demanded my name, my workplace, my address. And like starving animals, they went hunting. My phone number got posted. My inbox filled with hate. My socials were flooded. My photos were stolen and reposted with captions that made my skin crawl. Someone dumped garbage in front of my building door. And the whole time the three of them sat on that live stream, letting the fire spread, acting like they were holding a candle when they were really holding a match. I sat in the dark of my apartment, with my hands clenched so tight my nails cut into my palms. They wanted a show. They wanted me to panic, to argue, to scream online like a guilty person. They wanted me emotional, messy, easy to mock. So I did the one thing they didn't expect. I got quiet. I didn't fight them in comments. I didn't post angry stories, because the internet doesn't reward truth. It rewards spectacle. If I wanted to win, I needed proof so clean and sharp it could cut through 1,000 lies in one swipe. The next morning, I went back to my college, not to campus life, not to nostalgia, to the one person who still had records nobody could rewrite. My advisor. He stared at me across his desk, furious as I explained what was happening. This is outrageous, he said flatly. Annie helped half the class. You were the first one to volunteer when someone needed notes, tutoring, a meal swipe. He stopped, jaw working. And Ava, I said softly. You remember Ava? His expression changed. Yes, you asked me not to disclose her situation. You were trying to protect her dignity. I nodded. He pushed back his chair and stood. Give me their names. Give me everything. That day my advisor posted a statement from his official account. Calm, factual, signed. He said he had supervised my academic record. He said he had never seen any indication of bullying. He said in his professional judgment, the claims being spread were false. It was the first stone thrown into the lake. Then another and another. Classmates came forward. People who had watched my friendship with Ava in real time. They posted photos of us studying together. Group trips, cafeteria, selfies, weekend hangouts. They shared stories of me splitting my snacks with Ava, offering her rides, inviting her home over breaks because she had nowhere else to go. One girl wrote, "If this is bullying, then I wish someone would bully me the way Anna supported her." The comments started to shift. Not fully, not yet. But doubt crept in, and doubt is the beginning of collapse. Then my lawyer and I released the first wave of evidence. Not opinion, not emotion, evidence. The police report. The building camera. Footage blurred only where it needed to be for privacy, but clear enough to show the truth. My payment receipts for building fees. Screenshots of the changed lock code. A timeline with dates, times, and documented facts. The internet flipped like a coin. Suddenly, the same people who cursed my name were saying, wait. So they set her up. This is insane. They tried to extort her. She's the owner. The three of them went live again, scrambling, crying harder, insisting they were pressured, that the police were biased, that I was using money. But it didn't stick. Because once the public smells a lie, they don't just walk away. They chase. Their accounts were mass reported. Their live stream got shut down. Clips of their contradictions were stitched on TikTok and spread like wildfire. People dug up old posts, petty comments, jealous rants, little hints that they'd hated me long before any apartment. And then Braden, who'd been so cocky in my hallway, started posting his own rage online, furious that his little plan had backfired. In one drunken rant he basically admitted the truth, that he'd been feeding them, housing them, waiting for them to pull money out of me, that he wanted his cut, that they were useless for failing. And that was the final nail. It wasn't my words that ended them. It was theirs. A month later, the case moved forward. Braden tried to cut deals. Jenna and Lily tried to blame Ava. Ava tried to blame trauma. And eventually, in a cold interview room, Ava sat across from me with her hands trembling in her lap. For the first time since everything started, she looked like the girl I'd known. The scared one. The broken one. But then she lifted her head and her eyes sharpened, full of something ugly and raw. You want to know why? She whispered. Didn't answer. She laughed bitter. Because I hated you. The words hit like a slap, even though I'd already suspected them. I hated the way you walked through life like you belonged. She said, voice rising. I hated the way your parents showed up for you, The way your home felt safe. The way your mom smiled at you like you were precious. You invited me over during breaks and you thought you were being kind. I was being kind, I said quietly. A's face twisted. You were showing me what I'd never have. You were letting me watch. You have it. She swallowed hard and her eyes went shiny, not with innocence but with rage. You collected our gratitude like it was proof you were better than us. She hissed. You charged us cheap rent and acted humble like we should worship you for it. You told us what we could do in the apartment. You made rules. You didn't even notice how you looked when you did it. My chest tightened because the truth was I had noticed. I tried to soften it. I tried to make it feel equal. But you can't shrink a power imbalance just by pretending it isn't there. Ava leaned forward, voice shaking with something close to insanity. I wanted to watch you fall, she whispered. I wanted to drag you down until you were the one begging, until you were the one humiliated, until you were the one everyone pointed at and laughed. I stared at her for a long moment. Then I said very calmly, poverty isn't your fault. Her breath caught. And what happened to you growing up wasn't your fault. I continued, but deciding that your pain gives you permission to destroy someone else. I shook my head slowly. That part is on you. Ava's face crumpled, fury and shame warring. I stood up and when the officer asked if I wanted to settle to make it go away, I didn't hesitate. I won't, I said. I want full accountability. The legal process was long, messy, public. Jenna and Lily were charged for what they'd done. False accusations, coordinated harassment, defamation with real-world consequences and their role in the attempted extortion. They got real sentences, not a slap on the wrist. AA's case was worse because after the internet turned, after they lost the apartment, lost their audience, lost their victim narrative, Ava didn't just collapse, she broke. She went back to Braden's place with Lily and Jenna because they had nowhere else to go. And the same man they partnered with became the man they feared. Their new protector wasn't interested in protecting. He was interested in control, anger, and whatever he could take. And one night, according to the records, something in Ava snapped. Not a dramatic movie moment. Not some poetic revenge, just a human being reaching a breaking point and doing something irreversible. The details didn't need to be repeated for the world to understand the result. Braden didn't walk out of that apartment. ABA did. Stumbling, shaking, eyes empty like she'd left herself behind. When the officers arrived, she didn't fight. She didn't run. She just sat on the floor and stared at her hands like she couldn't remember how they belonged to her. And when they put her in handcuffs, she looked straight at the camera in the hallway and whispered something I'll never forget. Anna. She mouthed silently, like a curse, like a question, like a confession. As if the entire world, her childhood, her envy, her hatred, her choices could be summed up in my name. In court, Ava was sentenced to life. Jenna and Lily went away too. And when the final verdict was read, when the gavel hit and the courtroom doors opened and sunlight poured in, I walked outside and stood on the steps for a long time, breathing. People moved around me. Strangers with their own lives, their own worries, their own stories. Cars passed. A dog barked. Someone laughed on a phone call. The world didn't pause for my trauma. It just kept going. And for the first time in weeks, that didn't feel cruel. It felt like permission. I went home that day and stood in my living room. The one they tried to steal. The one they tried to turn into a stage for my humiliation. I looked at the clean walls, the custom paint, the quiet corners where my cousin had built his silly Lego set. And I made myself a promise. I would still be kind. I would still help people. But from now on, my kindness would come with teeth. Because being soft doesn't make you good. Sometimes it just makes you easy. And I was done being